Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, TedTokez, and we got some World of Tanks gameplay here. Some of the Cold War multiplayer. As you can see, pushing up to the front line is normal, as usual. We get up here, we see one teammate we can try to help. We end up showing up too late. But we do get some good shots in on the enemies, some good deflection while we're doing it. We're getting pushed back currently. You see a teammate finally pulled forward enough to help. If that heavy would have got there sooner, like at the same time as me, we might have been able to help that other teammate. But that's the lack of participation that I'll be talking about that sets the tone for the outcomes to happen. When people aren't going to play the game like they should. Or if they're going to play the game that they think that they should play it, even though that's not really the way to play it, they're just going to cause outcomes that they don't really want. Like, for example, you can see we have I'd say roughly 80% of our team over here in 2 squares of the map. We got that city center, and then we got that zero line, right? We got as far as the C line goes, I got one heavy with me in the 2 line of it in the northwest, and then there's that what's in the middle there, 6 or something like that. I mean B6, C6. But once you get down to the south, you can see there's not really much happening. Those tanks in the center city, they're likely not going to have what it takes to overcome the challenge because, as you can see, most of them are kind of let's group up and Overwatch kind of players, you know what I mean? As you can see, it's really not that difficult being on the front line. You've seen what I was fighting here, right? Way outnumbering the amount of enemies compared to myself and the one teammate I had to help me. And you can see how we're putting in the work on them, even with this heavy that's up here with me. Oh, look at that. The other heavy finally came over from C6 to join the action. I guess the player realized wasn't going to get any points from back there. Besides them ran the every once in a while by default point that it was getting before the player decided to move up. There we go. Nice teamwork. They got him before that enemy was able to chip away at me and maybe even finish me. Here we fast forward up till we get to the river because I'm not going to sit here and let you guys just watch me drive around. That'd be like just having me watch you guys practice shooting at the driving ranges. Not even really battling. It's just not that interesting enough for me to think that, I don't want to watch it, right? So I'm not going to make you guys watch it. That's why it's one of the reasons why I don't play Overwatch, because I don't want to be one of those players that need stuff done for me to even be able to do anything, because that's what that position is going to teach them to do. The reality is most of them can't true vision, so, what do you think they're shooting at if there's no scouting for them? Alright, so when I play frontline, I'm already doing that. Okay, so now it gives them a better chance to actually do what they want to do, right? I may want to ask them, or I may want them to be on the front line actually participating as a team, right? But that may not be what they want. They may want to sit back there and have a bunch of by default points, and by the end of the game feel like they actually did good, because how many of them can get 2 or 3 kills worth and then thousands of damage in the first 2 to 3 minutes? Not many of them even can. That's why they play Overwatch. That's why they'll sacrifice teammate after teammate for those points that they'll inevitably collect, because they add up over time. You got a gun that does 400 damage a shot, or even 700 damage a shot, or 1500 damage a missile, like some bullets do. Those points are going to add up over time. But the reality is, when your tank can achieve 3,000 or so damage a minute, and it takes you 5 minutes to get that 3,000 damage, that's a skill level issue, right? That's not, oh, you didn't find the you can never find the opportunity to get the points that the tanks say they can get. You know, those are excuses, just like the ones you make when you say I need to play Overwatch because Overwatch is a more effective way to play my tank. No, you're just more effective at playing Overwatch because, one, it's easier. Two, you barely even have to do what the other 50% of the players are doing, especially even if you want to consider the 50% of Overwatch that's still just doing the same thing that you're doing, but probably maybe a little better or a little worse, right? When 3 tanks want to choose frontline, oh, this is a good map. I remember this one. This is a good example of how their stagnation, their lack of participation, you know, their non-performing play styles. All right, this is a good example of how they ruin the game's outcome, and they literally give away free wins to the enemy, all because they want to play each other for damage points, which is so embarrassing, right? Because we all see the damage points they get by the end of the game. It'd be the same amount of damage points split up between everybody, you know, divvied up whatever way they were. It'd be the same amount of damage points that we'd all be sharing if we just played the game. Not to mention, if they just played the game or actually tried to play the game to get good at it, they'd learn that the deflection and so many other points are actually quite relevant. It's not just damage. The only reason they play for damage is because that's their way of showing they did more for the team. They did more to the enemy team, but that's not really the case. You could have 10,000 damage and actually not made one impactful shot. I've done it. I have videos of it. I'm not going to release them because I just said something about it, but I'm gonna release them eventually because that's why I save them. That's why I have folders of games where it's nothing but me doing absolutely nothing in the first 2 minutes besides getting what I do on my own, getting to do what I do on my own, and then still getting first place. Why? Because they sit around and do nothing all game. What I did in 2 minutes meant just about the same as what they did in 5 minutes. The main difference, though, is what I did in 2 minutes had affected those other 3 minutes that they chose to use, right? Their 5 minutes is hardly affecting my 2 minutes of gameplay as a frontliner. Here you can see me trying to push back some of these enemies, keeping them down in this alley, down in this street. You know, we don't want them getting too much. They got us. It was pretty inevitable. You know, 3-4 enemy barrels able to shoot at me. No matter how good I was at it deflecting, you know what I mean? They're going to get some shots off. Worked me down. But like I was saying, here's my point. Like, after I died, right, you saw what I was doing to the map. Making genuine general impact to this enemy push, right? Now look at our team. They chose to sit in literally 2 squares of the map, we'll say. We got this F8 and F9 intersection, and then we have this right here in the what's that, like J7, right? You have that area, right? Now those 5 tanks in H7, right? They're strictly Overwatch. They're not really doing anything. If there's even tanks in the field, they weren't shooting at them, and they couldn't have been shooting at the tanks in the city because the tanks are barely even now breaking through the outer side of the city for them to have a line of fire on, right? Those enemies seem to be smart enough not to push out there too fast because they can still beat them from being within that city without pushing past that city. And you see how these bottommost enemies, watch, you'll see they'll be able to get targeted. You got this heavy going towards the light tank, right? Now, as soon as the rest of the team gets rid of that one tank or those 1 or 2 tanks that's left over there in that intersection, they're going to start pushing down south towards that heavy that's already started up the distraction. Now that most of those tanks are probably even trying to kill that heavy or eliminate that heavy, which they still haven't, by the way. So now not only has that heavy completely distracted all of their Overwatch as one tank, the team is now reinforcing them in just a matter of, like, we'd say, what, 15 seconds, right? Now that's how you actually play as a team. That's how you progress and actually win. It's called participation. These players that sat around looking to react to a game, waiting to see how the game went so they knew what they could do that would get them even more by defaults, like just like how they've been playing, you know? Um, Now it's just going to take the enemy team to find this one last light tank. It looks like they do. And boom, another unnecessary defeat because of a lack of participation. You could see all that was a entire enemy team playing together, able to eliminate half of our team, and then able to eliminate the other half of our team because our two halves of a team would not work together. So they by default had a much easier chance even at eliminating the first half and then the second half. Alright, next match. Here we go. We got an objective in the middle of the map, right? Pretty good place for this objective. Looks like we got a little bit of movement. We got some tanks kind of huddling over there to the B2 hill, that whole northwest corner. And again, we'll show you how that ruins the game. Alright, now I don't even know the outcome of this one. I don't remember this match. I just remembered the last one because I was furious in that match. I'm like, how are we supposed to win when the team won't even play the game, right? I know half of the enemy team is your friends, and you guys are probably discorded up with them and all that, but still, can we get an actual game, or are we just going to sit here and keep trying to fluff each other's stats like you guys are even good? Nobody cares about your fake points. Listen, when your stats say you got 5,000 damage after 5 minutes and you get it maybe 2 kills every game, you survive 5 to 7 minutes every game, yeah, on paper, you look like a decent player, but wait till we see you in the actual battle. You're not a 5,000 damage a game player. You're not a 2 kill a game player. You're not a survive for 5 minutes to 7 minutes in the battlefield kind of player, alright? So, before you guys try to act like you're more important as Overwatch and why you're dying, no, these tanks are not going up there and dying, right? Maybe not everyone knows how to deflect as good as me, right? Maybe not everyone's getting as much deflection points as I do sometimes, but they're not going up there and dying. You players are not showing up to participate. That's the reality of it. I don't care how many times you want to blame the players, even if they go out there and do 0, 0, 0, and then zeros on the score parts on the rewards board that you can't see unless you look up finer details. I don't care if they did as many zeros as possible. They did not go up there and die. 9 times out of 10, I see the maps, I watch the gameplay. If one teammate went to help that teammate, the teammate would have did by far better than it did on its own. And that's the matter of participation, of a teamwork. Anyways, it does round me up a little bit, and the thing is, these people want to be believed to be good at the game because of the scores that they get, right? Right, cool, you get a podium every time you play. But some players know how you're getting that podium, and some players know that podium shouldn't even be a podium placement, because even though you did the best and you would still get podium, you, as the podium player that you played like, should probably still be like easily 4th, 5th, or 6th place, because you did nothing but got help and barely helped. That's why I can get 4th place on so many games when I'm trying to specifically structure how I put myself on the reward board. You guys think it's a joke, always 1st or 15th every game. No. I know what I'm doing, so I'm either going to end up doing nothing or just enough to help you guys do whatever the heck you were actually trying to do that game. And then there's obviously the cases where I pushed too far, maybe bit off more than I could chew. Maybe I just lost to a fair fight. These things happen still. But that's because I'm participating, right? I'm not looking for players to participate for me. But that's those matches, guys. I'm sorry I got a little preachy that time. I just want this game to get better, because I do feel it's gonna get kicked to the side with the community, and they don't respect the game enough. They don't actively actually try to play the game enough. The game's gonna die. That's why they have to put out tanks that you don't even have to play with to be good with, because they know what their community wants. Because why would they make tanks that are good for actual battles when they know that their players don't really care about battling? They just want the best tank to overwatch with.